The extent of the injuries to Governor Connolly is a closely shrouded secret at the moment.
President Kennedy is dead, Gordon. This is official word.
The president is dead. The president, ladies and gentlemen, is dead at Parkland Hospital in Dallas.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
Battalion 1 to Manhattan.
Battalion 1.
We just had a plane crash into level 4 of the World Trade Center, transmit a second alarm, and start relocating companies into the area. Engine 1-0 to Manhattan.
Engine 1-0.
Engine 1-0, World Trade Center, 1060. Send every available ambulance, everything you got to the World Trade Center now.
That for 1060 been transmitted for the World Trade Center. 1060 for the World Trade Center.
It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note.
Thousands of lives were suddenly ended by evil, despicable acts of terror.
When will you be satisfied?
America was targeted for attack because we're the brightest beacon for freedom and opportunity in the world.
The truth is stranger than fiction.
Stranger than
fiction. The truth is stranger than fiction. The truth is stranger than fiction. The truth is stranger than fiction.
Into the matrix you will be illuminated. Into the rabbit hole, secrets will be revealed there.
Truth is stranger than fiction.
The functions of our government continue without interruption.
Good evening. This is Pete Wichert, host of The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, Chicago's own and only libertarian radio show in the city, I'm pretty sure, and your only source for real news in Chicago. And today I'm proud to have a good friend of mine, Scott, host of the True Sentinel, joining us. He had me on his show earlier. If you haven't checked that out, find it on YouTube. Scott, can you hear me?
Yes, Pete, can you hear me okay?
Loud and clear, buddy, loud and clear. So
very good, very good. It's a pleasure to be back with you again. I think it feels like it's been almost a year since we've spoken, you know?
Oh, it really has. I mean, it really has. And, you know, I've been going through a lot of issues, like with my mom still being in the hospital. Otherwise, I would have, you know, loved to have you on an earlier date. It's long overdue.
Yeah, I hope your mum's doing okay. I was going to mention that, you know, and best wishes to her and you, and hope she returns to full health.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. I could use all the prayers I could get. She's in a very uptight hospital, and I'm not exactly sure on what they're waiting for to move her to her rehab for walking and stuff, because she hasn't walked in so long. So hopefully the end is near with all this hospital drama.
Yeah, it's never good. I mean, it's a reminder to us all really about health, you know, like we talk about a lot of topics, but you know, at the end of the day, for everyone personally, health is one of the most important issues. You know, if you haven't got your health, then, you know, everything else takes second place, really.
Yeah, there's a good example actually in the news recently of that 24-year-old football player retired without even having a major injury in the NFL after his first year, and he cited you know, long-term health concerns as his reason for retiring. And I give him a lot of credit, because you know, he's going to get ridiculed by the fans of San Francisco and pretty much a lot of his peers. but he made the right call for, what he felt was in his best interest.
Yeah, and I mean, why did he retire then?
I guess
what kind of issues?
He only had one concussion. I mean, this is coming from me. I've had like 7 or 8 playing football at least. I mean, a couple undiagnosed, I'm sure of that. He just said pretty much that he wanted to make sure that his long-term future was not in any way affected from playing at the level he wanted to. And when he talked to some concussion researchers, and he pretty much weighed the pros and cons and said, you know what, I'm done.
Fair enough. Can't blame him for that.
I can't at all. Actually, I salute him for it. But going into the news, let's see. So you're joining us from Thailand today, huh? So it's 6.
I'm joining you from Thailand, Phuket in Thailand. And actually, there is some breaking news from Phuket and Thailand. If you go to the BBC website and just the breaking news from World News, it actually has got breaking news from Phuket, Thailand, and it's because somebody in the last sort of 24 hours has gone to the Phuket shooting range here, because we've got a shooting range. I went down to it myself a couple of weeks ago.
Wow.
And used an M4 assault rifle. I was preparing for whatever's coming in the future, but somebody went there in the last 24 hours, and there's a CCTV video online, and this guy took a few shots at the target and apparently hit the bullseye every time.
Wow.
And then turned the gun on himself and killed himself.
Oh, wow.
So that's the breaking news from Phuket, Thailand, where I am at the moment. Someone just killed themselves for no apparent reason, although I'm sure there was a reason.
At least he didn't take anybody with them, That's a positive, But yeah, I'm kind of shocked that they have shooting ranges out there. That's not something that came to my mind, but.
Well, I'll tell you what, that's one reason I really like Thailand. You can do pretty much anything you want over here. Anything you can think of, it's all possible over here. And, I coming from the UK, you don't often get the chance to shoot a gun. And I was over here and I saw the shooting range, so I went down myself the other day. And it's quite expensive, actually. It was, if you want to, depends on what gun you select, but interesting, because I came on tonight, I thought I'll just check the news, just the world news, and sure enough, straight away it was in the world news was Phuket, Thailand. This is the bizarre thing I find about traveling around, because the premise of my show is I'm traveling around and I try to link episodes to the location, and it's always pretty easy because there just seems to be something happening everywhere,
Oh yeah, and it seems like they have the same issues we have here in America, and I'm sure you have, in the UK, and that just goes to show you we all have similar problems and similar. Everyone thinks you could travel the world, America's like this high standard, but they don't realize everyone's very similar, at least in my experience. There might be places that are more like in Ukraine. I know you've been there, and we are going to have you on from there until all this stuff happened with me. I know I give you credit for even going there. How was that out there?
That was interesting. I may be going back, but I have got a little bit of news for you about Ukraine as well. And, you have to be a little bit careful and cautious about any news you hear. So I've heard some, basically there's a lot of Russians and Ukrainians, mostly Russians actually, over here in Phuket. But I bumped into someone the other day who said that they've been warned not to go back to Ukraine in the next 2 weeks because there's going to be an invasion, an attack by Putin to other cities in Ukraine, including Odessa and Mariupol. And, these sort of rumors and gossip, it wouldn't be, necessarily that we can take this as the truth, but he works for the security services, this guy who's given us this news.
So it's a pretty good
she's
source.
actually not going back, this girl, because of this news.
Wow, that's pretty telling in itself, Yeah.
Yeah, and he said basically that, she said to him basically, I can't, I've got to make plans. I'm coming back. If this isn't true, then please let me know. And he said, I wouldn't say this if this wasn't, if I didn't have sort of intelligence about this. So it'll be interesting to see if that is true, because I'm due to go back in about 6 weeks, but I was going to go back sooner, but I think after hearing that, I might just hold back
it out a
little bit longer.
Yeah, I don't blame you. And actually, Staff Sergeant Joe Biggs, InfoWars and stuff, his one of his good, or was it a family member, I believe, has pretty good connections as well. And he was saying something about the possibility that Putin might have like stage 4 cancer, and how he wasn't seen for about a month. And that they said the same thing. He's preparing to, go into Ukraine because he wants to put his, basically make a name for himself in Russian history.
Yeah, no, I mean, after I heard this news about the 2 weeks, I started to see things on the news that sort of confirmed it a bit. Like, there's a big troop build up in Crimea now. There are thousands of troops going to Crimea. You've got also the US sending troops to and hardware to Riga, Latvia, Riga. You've got NATO doing these military exercises. It almost seems like everyone's gearing up for a war there. And I hope it doesn't happen, because I've got friends over there, and obviously I'm supposed to be going back there myself. And whilst I like to be on the ground and be there where the story's happening, I'm not really I don't really want to get blown up whilst I'm over there. Last time when I was in Odessa, most of the time it was pretty peaceful, but there was one day which hit the news as well, worldwide, where I was walking just a couple of streets away from where all the action was happening, and there was people getting shot in the center. There was bombs going off right next to my apartment, and then there was a fire that killed quite a number of people there, and then I saw people, as I was leaving Odessa, there was people marching down the street to try to the police station to demand that someone get released. So it can be pretty chaotic over there, even in Odessa. But most of the problems have been in the east rather than other cities. What is the consensus in the population out there? What do they want? What would they rather have Russia come in, or they'd be independent, or how? I mean, how do people look at that? Join NATO? It's very different according to which city you go to. I mean, if you go to West Ukraine, say Lviv, and you can ask the same questions in different cities and you'll get different answers. West Ukraine in Lviv, people are more pro-European, and a lot of people would say that a lot of people from the West Ukraine were more involved in the Maidan revolution, overthrowing Yanukovych. But if you go to Odessa, it's more 50-50. Some people are pro-Russian, some people aren't. Crimea was more pro-Russian. It's got a lot of history with Russia, and but if Putin does go to other cities, you're not going to see the same situation. It's not going to be as easy. There's going to be bloodshed. Basically, there's going to be a bloodbath, and it's quite sad, really, because it's very. I hate to say this, and apologies to any Ukrainians listening, but Ukrainian people are quite easy to manipulate because of the patriotism, of people in the West, and because of the history, and I don't know. I can see a real media propaganda war going on there, and people are just. Not everyone, but people are believing what they want to believe, and you can just see the hatred building up towards, divide and conquer. Basically, it would be quite easy to get them to kill each other, and the West and Europe and NATO, they know this, and I fear that they're going to actually stimulate this as a kind of war.
I'm sure they're already doing it. I'm sure they're already in full attack mode as far as the propaganda. I mean, they were doing that with rock music to the Soviet Union, and stuff for years and years to basically stimulate a rebellious attitude in the population. So I'm sure that that's probably one of their number one agendas right now, is to run the propaganda machine. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, war is big business, and I think it would help, it possibly help the economies of Russia, of the US, and of some other European countries. If there was a war, basically, you know, lots of military contracts could go out. I'm also a bit suspicious about Joe Biden and his son. Did you hear about his son
getting the gas?
Got involved, yeah, became, after being chucked out of the Navy for being tested positive with cocaine, he then got put in charge of a big company over there in Ukraine, and I find that highly suspicious.
Yeah, what a punishment, huh? Here, you're a millionaire now, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And he's been put in charge of a, another energy producer, and also Joe Biden's stepson.
Unbelievable. I mean, if you're just born to the ruling elite, I guess you just get, you know, countless. Man, that could actually be way up there if you look in the near future too. So you just get handed millions of dollars regardless of getting thrown out for drugs, or if you're George or Jeb Bush's daughter, you get it thrown out, but your average person will go to jail.
Yeah,
it's funny how that works.
It sounds to me like some kind of favors are being pulled here,
exactly.
And you know, this company, a private oil and gas company called Burisma, I think. You know, it'd be interesting to see what's going to happen. They're going to profit somehow by this, from this war, I would imagine.
Oh yeah.
But at the moment, the economy in Ukraine is just crazy. I mean, if I go back in 6 weeks, it's good for me because I can get twice as many Ukrainian hryvnias than I could, say, you know, 6 months ago. It's, you know, I think there's going to be a humanitarian crisis there.
Yeah,
prices have gone up, salaries have gone down, people are out of work. It's crashing, basically. I don't think we've seen the full results of it at the moment, but you know, it's the Ukrainian hryvnia is worth a third of what it was a year ago.
Wow.
It's just they can't carry on like that. Without, people are going to start dying of starvation and hunger soon.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like they're, so pretty much it's kind of like what's happening here, but just at a more rapid pace, huh?
A very rapid pace, yeah.
Man, you feel you have to, your heart goes to those who live there and are just caught up in this, that just wanted to have their lives go on, daily, you know, routines cut off, can't go to work, can't feed their family. I mean, that's a horrible situation, you know. And it's ridiculous. NATO claims they come in for peace and to help, but they always seem to, like you said, just push for war. I mean, I heard Denmark, Putin was threatening Denmark if they go into NATO that he's going to attack them as well.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things going on behind the scenes.
But we did break our part.
I feel like there is going to be a major war coming, and I hope it doesn't happen in Ukraine, because, you know, when you hear about these wars in other countries and you haven't been there, it's quite easy to forget that, you know, to put a human face to some of the stories. But if you meet the people there and, you know, you've got friends there, you know, they're just people like you and me. They all go clubbing, you know. It's just the same kind of people. And you know, in East Ukraine, you can see videos of people getting shot on the streets just whilst they're doing shopping. You know, they're getting shot by snipers and things like that. It's
wow.
It's gonna and you know, probably I think about 6,000 people have been killed so far. But that's just the start of it. If this really kicks off, it's gonna be horrible, you know.
Yeah, definitely. It's honestly, it's a powder keg. It's gonna blow. Yeah. It's just a matter of time. It sounds like it. I know what you're saying. Like when I went to Ferguson, you know, and then after I got back and I look at it, it looked like a war zone. And I was talking to so many people out there. They're good people, you know. Just caught up in the middle again of some political issue. Most of the people that went out there weren't even from Ferguson. They caused all the damage, looting. Yeah,
I was going to ask you, what about the policeman that got shot the other day? What's your views on that?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a sketchy situation, you know, because I saw the raw footage of it. Someone emailed it to me actually almost instantly, and I was just like, kind of shocked. I mean, and then this guy, he almost seems like he's an protester and was for the police, but why did he shoot the police? I mean, I'm not quite sure if that was a false flag in a sense to get people riled up because things were calming down. It's a sketchy situation. It really is. I can't really definitively say anything, but something smells funny to me out with that.
Yeah.
You know, what a way to rile people up after stuff was just calming down.
Yeah. Do you think, is it calmed down completely now then?
From what I'm hearing from the people out there, it's like the police kind of got the hint and they've been kind of taking it easy on them, but it's kind of like what you were describing in Ukraine, in a sense that they feel like something's going to happen still, that it's not over, you know. And then you have, I think they're taking the courthouse down there, so they're basically dismantling the police there, and they're going to have, I'm assuming, state police take over, but you never know. They could bring in Homeland Security, they could bring in the Army. So yeah, it's another bad incident waiting to happen.
Yeah, you know, and it all stems really. Well, a lot of it stems from you know, the distrust of the police. You know, what we've seen with some of the police brutality videos. You know, people no longer trust the police, I would imagine, over there. Some of the things I've seen, you know, on some of those videos is quite shocking. I did an episode on drones and police brutality and things like that, and yeah, I mean, I still think back to was it Kelly Thomas, who was killed by those several policemen, and
that was
it seems incredible those guys got off with it. I don't get that at all. There's a video there that shows what went on. I just don't get it, you know.
Yeah, and that guy's begging for his dad. I mean, it eats your heart away when you watch that, you know. And yeah, how they could get off. And I'm not going to say that I think that it's, you know, anyone should go out and kill a police officer in retaliation, but how do those guys not lose their job, you know? It's, to me, it's almost like that's what they want to happen. Just like that guy, Eric
this
Gardner.
is you know, this is where the real mistakes are being made. If you're going to do that, if you're going to let policemen like that get away with that, then these are the results. You know, these are the results of mistakes like that in the past. So no, I would never condone going out shooting a policeman. You know, you're just becoming just as bad. But
what did they expect?
You know, the unrest is because of these kind of situations where justice is not being served against dodgy policemen, you know.
Yeah, and it's happened a lot to you know, white people too here. But like you just brought up Kelly Thomas, we have a good friend of the show, Bill Scott, whose son, you know, Eric, was killed in Las Vegas, just shot and murdered for no apparent reason in a Costco. And it's just the media portrays these particular incidents that involve different races just to perpetuate this almost like they want a civil war here. And I agree with, like, you know, Seth and I are on the same page. It's the end game is a civil war, in our opinion.
Right, yeah, maybe they'll get it as well.
And then there's the justification for the militarized police, the tanks, you know, all that. Then you could roll it out without a problem, without any public pressure against it. So,
yeah, indeed.
know,
yeah, it does seem like they've all become militarized, doesn't it? I mean,
yeah.
There's real big overkill, you know, for small. It seems that a lot of these situations are actually being created by the police. You know, people minding their own business, you know, like, or, you know, maybe there's small things happening, but if you just leave these people alone, nobody gets killed. I mean, that Eric Garner video where that, you know, he's allegedly selling cigarettes, illegal cigarettes or something. It's like the police aren't there to protect the cigarette companies, are they? They're there to protect you know, civilians. So what were they doing, even giving that guy so much hassle?
Yeah, apparently, I guess he was like a regular doing that, which kind of shows you that he's struggling, you know, because 50-cent cigarette, you're not making much profit. I mean, yeah, in the long run, but I mean, a couple bucks, you know. So he got killed over a couple dollars.
Well, what's the police got to do with that anyway?
Nothing.
So what if the guy's selling illegal cigarettes? It's nothing to do with the police, in my opinion. It's like,
Yeah.
That's not what they're there for, really. They're not there to protect the interests of the cigarette
And
companies.
it's bad enough that they pursued it, let alone choke the guy to death for it, Unbelievable. And yeah, he didn't even resist.
Yeah, they should just leave people alone, That's my opinion. I mean, and a lot of people's opinions, I think, just leave people alone unless they're really, doing something that's going to harm other people, because that's what the police are there to protect and serve,
Yeah.
protect people against other people or I don't know. It's just
There's
it
another
seems to be
guy
out of
too in
control
New
there.
Mexico. They shot for a homeless guy for camping. And
Right, yeah, I
remember
saw that.
video?
I saw that
Yeah.
one, yeah.
Sick dogs on his dead body for camping. And we're acting like it was a video game, like, booyah, I got him, and all this stuff. It's sickening. And
That was just a pretty much a murder, that case.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, they went in there, they knew what they were going to do, basically.
and they got off with that too.
Yeah, this is the problem. They don't, they should realize, okay, if you're going to let police get off with that, there's going to be repercussions,
Yeah, I mean, I thought they would have learned from the Rodney King riots and everything after in the early 90s, where they literally burnt down parts of California. But apparently, like you said, this is like their goal, They would have learned from their mistakes by now if they truly wanted to. And they're not. But,
yeah, and we were talking about Fox News earlier before the show started, and I've noticed that Fox News really great believes in the legal system. If a case is shown that someone's innocent, they just believe that. Then the law has shown this person is innocent. It must be true. It's like that's not the way things work. There is a corrupt legal system as well.
Mm-hmm. And that's on record with all the people that have been let out 25 years after for wrongful convictions. We had the guy out here, that black site, Hammond Square and stuff. They didn't even cover that, but it stemmed from a guy that was in Guantanamo torturing people, and he was doing the same here. It's almost incredible to think that Fox News, as big as it is more. I don't know. It's one of the more popular news broadcasts. Why would you say that particular network is still kind of on the up when everyone else is going down?
I can kind of see why they're popular. I mean, like I've been watching it myself, and there's other options for me. I could watch BBC, but Fox News is interesting to watch, even if it's just to make fun of it. It's kind of I think it appeals to today's kind of mentality of I don't want to sit down for very long and listen to lots and lots of facts. I want something short, sharp. I want something that's going to satisfy me quickly.
With a good,
it's very repetitive.
Very
visually stimulating.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it, right there.
We were talking about Megyn Kelly. She's definitely visually stimulating.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I love that girl, but some part of me wants to just shake her and be like, "Listen, this is what's going on." But she tells me, and I'm just like, "Okay." Taking notes.
You're not alone. That's all I can say. You're not alone.
Man. But yeah, I mean, they have it down. Get pretty looking girls to get the guys. They'll have attractive males to get the girls. They have it down. But then there's a guy like Bill O'Reilly out of nowhere. But even him, he's entertaining because he's kind of psychopath.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, you stick a psychopath on TV, people are going to watch. I mean, we are watching Bill O'Reilly and Sean Hannity. I mean, their interview style is just hilarious. It's like they usually start. I was talking to Seth about this. They usually start each question with a guest. They'll start by saying something like, "Do you agree with me that?" And the implication is that if you don't agree with me, then I'm just going to talk over you, basically.
Yeah.
they just cut them off. There was a woman the other day that Sean Hannity was just really rude to her. I mean, it's very clear that when Sean Hannity has a couple of guests on, he expects them to agree with him.
Mm-hmm.
And if one of them doesn't, then he gets the other two to help gang up on them, basically.
Yeah.
He's a bit of a coward, Sean Hannity. He uses very juvenile tactics when he's when he's presenting an idea, and it's full of logical fallacies. I mean,
yeah,
one of the episodes we're going to be doing soon on Truth Sentinel is about logical fallacies and critical thinking, and just, you know, I think in this day and age, it's really important that people actually identify these logical fallacies in some of the things we see in the media, you know?
Yeah, it's like just because they're used to seeing this person every day, he either becomes like a father figure or some kind of authority in subconsciously to the people watching, and they almost accept it, but don't actually listen to how he's like you said, tricking people into either buying into what he's saying completely, or if you don't, like you said, hey, we're going to gang up on you. I'm going to wave my pencil around in your face a little bit and make you look like an idiot, but not even disprove what your theory is.
He does. I mean, some of the tactics that Sean Hannity uses is just, it's pathetic. It really is. You know, he does try to ridicule people, and he gives a lot of loaded questions, and he keeps repeating that same mantra about Iran and you know, wiping Israel off the face of the earth, when, you know, most people know that that's not exactly what was said. I mean,
not at all.
Certainly, you know, it's not good what some of the things that have come out of Iran, but that's not exactly what was said. So you should at least stick to the facts. I mean, the actual translation was something like the Israeli regime should be wiped from the pages of time or something. But there is a crucial difference. They weren't talking about
the people,
a mass genocide,
yeah.
and that's quite important distinction to make. So. But, you know, Hannity just uses the same mantra all the time, you know.
And he sticks up for Israel regardless. You know, Israel could drop a nuke in Iran and he would be like, yes, you know, this is great. And whereas Iran, in my opinion, from what I'm hearing, they've already had nukes. So if they really wanted to hurt Israel, they could have already.
Yeah, and there is, you know, there is something a bit hypocritical about other countries telling other countries they're not allowed to have things that they've got, you know. Yeah. I think
well, they haven't admitted
it.
They right, Scott, they haven't admitted it to this day yet that they have nukes, like, publicly, and that's their little cover, I guess. But yeah, I love how they say, no, you can't have nuclear power, but we can. No, you can't have this to defend your country, but we can.
Yeah, because we can trust, you know, we can trust you a lot more than we can trust, you know. It's really patronizing, I think, for a lot of countries. Basically, Obama, I think, in his election campaign, talked about getting rid of nuclear weapons, but it's clear he's not in. He doesn't give it. He's not going to do that. And whereas actually somebody should start really taking that seriously. Let's get rid of them all. Yeah. We don't need them. You know, it doesn't serve any purpose to have a nuclear war in the future.
No.
And as long as we continue to have nuclear weapons in countries, it's inevitable they will be used. Inevitable.
Yeah.
And you know, the stupidity of mankind is that we could actually end up destroying the entire planet, well, at least all the human beings on it, all the living things, in a nuclear war. They need to be it's quite simple. Get rid of them, you know.
Yeah.
And Obama shouldn't have got that Nobel Peace Prize. He's not. He's made no attempt whatsoever to get rid of nuclear weapons. You know.
No, everything the guy said. I was watching the Obama deception not too long ago. I mean, everything the guy said, he broke every promise he made on the campaign trail when he first ran in the first 2 months. You know,
yeah, he's a serial liar, that guy. I mean,
you know, Seth and I were actually talking about that earlier. I mean, at what point is it not just stupidity? It's willful. He knows what he's doing, you know, and they got the right guy as far as the globalists to get their agenda across. I mean, the guy could lie to you with a straight face and smile and actually make you laugh, and then the next day turn around and make you look like an idiot.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that Fox are very anti-Obama. I was quite surprised to see that. So at least they're doing some good,
but then they're pro-Bush, the family in general. You know, if they could clone George W., he'd be running again.
I think it's going to be quite sad if another Clinton or Bush gets in power. I think I might just go and find an even smaller island to live on.
I might join you
because I just can't believe people would be so stupid to vote another Bush or Clinton in. I mean, Hillary Clinton, you don't vote for someone just because they are a woman. You know, it'd be great to have a female president, but not an insane psychopathic one. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and honestly, speaking of her, she just came out on at a speech, I think this week, talking about how Americans have a fund deficit and how we need to go to camps for adults, and how she says it's like she's like lecturing at us. And this is the lady that has all these email scandals, millions of scandals that are worse than that no one's bringing up. And she's literally talking about, in my opinion, rolling out these FEMA camps.
Yeah, I don't think she's thinking of holiday camps, is she? She's thinking of FEMA camps.
I mean, and how much fun is that going to be? I mean, come on, people. We got to wake up to this. When she starts, nudging at you a little, giving you hints, we should take that as something, because I don't know about anyone else listening to this, but I don't want to go to no mandatory camp for 2 months in the summer anyway, period, even if it was fun. But
no, definitely not. I mean, hopefully this email scandal will bring her down before she gets a chance to run for president anyway. I mean, I've heard that they're requesting that she hand over the server. Yeah. Be interesting to see whether she does or not.
There's going to be a house fire with or something. Watch, just like the concussion with Benghazi. It's always something with her. She's 2 steps ahead of them, probably because she's ordering them. Yeah, say you're going to take my server. Oh, my house lit on fire. It was Bill's fault. I was sending him an email, even though he doesn't email anyone. I mean, but unfortunately, I mean, there's bigger things in that email scandal that we could get her on, and people are kind of focusing on that, and that's almost like in a way favoring her because she doesn't have to account for anything else she did. And it's almost like, why are they messing with me? I was just trying to send emails, like it's almost doing her too good in a sense. If you're going to destroy her, we should bring her down with the facts, not just this little petty scandal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to get an idea of her character, you've only got to watch that video where she's talking about Gaddafi, where the guy gets killed and she goes, "We came, we saw, he died,"
yeah.
and then cackles like a witch.
Yeah, I mean, and how do people actually like this woman? I mean, honestly,
I have no idea.
She went to school.
People are deluded, and I think it's a bit similar to what I was talking about earlier about. There is a kind of false patriotism, and I've spoken about this before with Seth, I think, and with Anthony, who's on our show quite a lot, about the team mentality. You belong to a certain team, and I think it can be dangerous. When you get, if you're like an Obama supporter, you see some people who sort of support Obama, and he could literally say anything. He could say, "I'm going to kill you all tomorrow," and people would just clap because they're on Team Obama,
Yeah, because the guy acts like he knows sports and tries to act like your average guy, but he's the leader of the free world, and you got to start holding him accountable too. I mean, this guy's just stomped on the Constitution here, and like you said, he'll rub it in your face on top of it and make a joke about it. Like the other day, he was joking about being from Kenya.
Yeah, I don't like Obama's jokes. They're really insensitive, and again, they reveal his character. Like I mentioned last time we spoke about him joking about the passengers on MH370 that disappeared. He made a big joke about that after just leaving Malaysia. It was just he makes a lot of insensitive jokes. He makes jokes about predators, drones. He's just. It just says a lot about him, basically, that he doesn't have much empathy, and those kind of people, that is the definition of a psychopath,
Oh yeah. I think in a sense, almost every single person who elevates to a position of power, like he did. I mean, he was like head of the UN Security Council and president at the same time. I mean, you have to get your hands dirty, I guess you could say, to get in that position, and you almost have to stoop down to this low level to to lead, unfortunately. And that's not how it has to be, but that's the method they choose.
Yeah, I mean, I think these people are basically just actors.
Oh yeah, like Gerald
they're not
Celente.
they're not the people in power at all. They're just, you know, you can tell that the smug look that Obama has quite a lot of the time. He's just acting a role. He's quite happily acting this role, and he's being told what to do. He's not really making any conscious decisions. He's just he is a little puppet, basically.
Oh yeah, I think Gerald Celente put it the best. Pretty much, politicians are ugly actors. He put it in a little better term than that, but that's the gist of it, and I agree. You know, it's like the guy could sell you, you know, a piece of crap, excuse my language, and make you pay $1 million for it. That's a scary thing to have with the disposal of the military, with all these assets he has at his disposal. It's pretty scary.
It is, you know, and one of the things that appealed about Obama was the things he said, the way he spoke, you know, speeches. But people have got to remember, you know, it doesn't matter how good a speech you make; it's the actions, you know, that matter. And it's not about speech. This isn't a game running countries, you know, and running the world. It's not a game, you know. It's not a speech competition. It's, you know, real things. There's some huge issues that need dealing with, such as getting rid of nuclear weapons. And, you know, we don't want people just to go and make nice speeches. These speeches are they're nonsense. You know, all the world, you know, David Cameron, the Prime Minister of England, he's just full of cliches. He's, you know, he rarely says something that's actually from the heart.
It has substance.
He just repeats. He just reels off what someone has told him to say, you know.
Yeah, even Obama was giving a speech and his teleprompter fell over, and he's like, "Oh, sorry, guys," and is reading off the ground. You know, like no one seems to like question like who's writing the speech, what the agenda is, why can't he write his own speech? Like, you know, like. And if going back on it, if you look at just great orators, you have Adolf Hitler would be one of the best politicians in the history of the world. Then, if you judge on just speaking,
yeah,
you know, and look where
that's
ends.
the sad thing.
Yeah, and look, if you think people learn from our past mistakes, I guess not.
It seems they haven't. I was gonna mention. We were talking about Fox and Fox News. They had a bit on MH370 the other day.
Yeah, what'd you find?
Which I just mentioned a minute ago. Well, it was interesting that Fox News were reporting these crazy conspiracy theories about MH370 a year on.
Yeah,
and their list of conspiracies were just—it was stupid because that one of them was that MH370 was shot down, and it was presented as a crackpot idea that could never happen, despite the fact that the US military shot down Iranian Flight 655 in 1988 with 299 people on board, including 66 children. You know, I mean,
the Russians shot down.
You can't make a joke out of something and call it a crackpot idea if it's actually happened before, you know.
Especially if they're flying in a military sensitive area, like a, you know, a top secret base or even just a base in general.
Yeah, I mean, you know, this was a passenger plane, you know, and
that happened too with what, Russia? Was it they shut down a Japanese flight, I believe?
It's happened with many countries. That's why Fox's notion that it's a crazy crackpot conspiracy theory is just nonsense, because this has happened in history many times, and that's what annoys me about, you know, labeling everything a conspiracy theory.
Yeah.
Their other theory, which was a crackpot idea, which is actually a very, very feasible explanation as to what happened, is that someone took control of the plane.
Yeah.
Now, actually, if you look at the evidence, everything points to that.
That's what I think.
So Fox's idea that this is a crackpot conspiracy theory is just nonsense.
Yeah, and Operation Northwoods, I mean, they're talking about doing that already in the 60s, you know, like with remote control, basically. Now with the hackers and stuff, that's very plausible, if not probably what happened. And it could have been like a brain heist. They had those scientists on there. So, you know, some country could fly them into a base and take the mines and put them to work.
Well, yeah, they had 20 plus people from Freescale Semiconductor who were working on cloaking technology and drone miniature drone technology. So there was a lot of people on board that had the kind of knowledge that people would kill over, you know.
Oh yeah.
But I've been looking at the evidence, you know, the small details now. Everyone's been analyzing the small details about what happened on that flight, and everything points to somebody taking control of the aircraft.
And you think they'd
all
like
the
put them
small
up
details
and,
point to that, you know.
yeah, how do you think they would just land them like that and go on and physically get rid of the people they didn't want and take the ones they did? Or a lot of people think it was like a ghost plane at some point, but then how would you save the scientists? So, you know,
I think there's a number of possibilities, but there was at one point the electronic satellite system shows that the plane went to 40,000 feet for 22 minutes, and another pilot has pointed out that that's very significant, because that would be about the right amount of time to take a plane up to kill everybody on board by starving them of oxygen, because you know the oxygen mask would drop down and you'd have less than 10 minutes of oxygen there. So by staying up there for 22 minutes you could pretty much guarantee to kill everyone. I'm not saying that's what's happened. I mean, it'd be really nice to think that they're still, you know, it was hijacked and they're still alive somewhere, but you know, that is a possibility. And basically, one thing I found interesting, I didn't realize that the island I'm living on, Phuket in Thailand, there's a lot of connections to MH370, actually. I went to interview a woman the other day who handed over a passport of an Italian man by mistake to a gentleman that came in, who then sold it to one of the Iranians.
Oh wow!
That boarded MH370, and there was 2 Iranians traveling on illegal passports.
Yeah, they just kind of swept that under the rug, huh?
And everyone dismissed that as not relevant. That couldn't have been a terrorist thing, but I think it's time to start considering that maybe it was, you know. And the first spotlight would fall on those 2 Iranians.
Well, and you were in Ukraine, so that's where the other one got shot down. I mean, what's going on with this airline company? I mean, it's almost like you have a better chance of winning the Mega Millions out here, you know, than 2 aircraft from the same company, from the same, getting, you know, with these problems. Just it makes no sense to me. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around all this.
That is that MH17. I think there is a connection, but I'm not sure what it is. I think there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes, some, you know, espionage, and it may be connected to world events. You know, it may be connected. MH370, MH17 may be connected to events in Iran or in Ukraine or in Israel. Who knows? But one thing I think is fairly likely, and that is that MH370 was taken over by someone on board and was flown. I asked the woman who handed this passport over what people in Thailand thought, and it happened to the plane. She said they thought it had exploded. But I said to her, you do know that the plane flew for another 7 hours, right? And she didn't. And I think a lot of people are making opinions about what happened to that flight without actually looking at any of the facts, you know?
Yeah. No, I had that source send me information. I'm not sure. I can't say with 100% certainty that he was accurate, but it was like 3 days after this happened. He said there's 2 countries, and the one you're in right now was one of the countries. He said picked it up on radar, but wasn't going to release any information. Then it came out that actually that was the case. He told me that they went at a higher elevation before it was reported. So, I mean, it checked out, and I've yet to get an email from this person. And he sent me some things on directed energy, and he was in one of the, you know, government agencies out here. He wouldn't tell me which one, but kind of sketchy. I haven't heard a thing from the guy, but he was dead on with all the facts that he told me. And he said that it was going to eventually, they're going to use the plane as a troop transport plane for radical, you know, extremists like Muslim terrorists. Then you have ISIS, you know, rising right after, and makes you, or that they're going to use it after as a projectile. So you almost wonder if that plane could still be in the equation somewhere down the road.
That's, you know, it would be interesting to see. Basically, yeah, he's right. The Thai military and the Thai radar picked up the plane, and they didn't reveal that until later. They admitted they had been tracking it, and that's another suspicious thing. It's like they were tracking this plane on radar for a period of time. It seems very unlikely they wouldn't send up a potential
fighter jet, a
plane that could be potentially full of terrorists. They wouldn't send up a jet because they would have known that it was going to go out of radar tracking at some point.
Yeah.
So what? Are they just going to let it go? It's not likely. I think they were. I think they were tracking it, and probably someone does know where the plane is. But another interesting thing, this woman told me, who I interviewed the other day, she told me the CIA had been here to Phuket in Thailand asking her questions.
Oh wow!
And that's really interesting, because there hasn't been much said about that by anyone, that the CIA are involved in this or even interested in it.
Yeah, exactly.
But she told me, yeah, they came. It's quite funny, because this woman it's got this small little coffee shop, and she told me for an entire month, she had international media, the CIA, and all agencies contacting her. She couldn't do any work.
Unbelievable. That backs up again what my source said too. So wow, I mean that's interesting that, like you said, that they would even have an interest in that after so long. And you would think that something would wash up. Didn't they claim like a pan or something random, like a little piece of the plane washed up, like I don't know, I'm just gonna throw this, like a napkin or something on shore?
Yeah, there's been the odd one or two, but nothing confirmed, and pretty unlikely. I mean, even if a Malaysian Airlines napkin washed up, it's a fairly well-known big airline in Asia, and it doesn't wouldn't really count for much.
Yeah, so it almost seems like they were using that, like, hey, we're just gonna pull back on our search, and it's all done, but yet we have no. The seats are like pretty much life preservers, nothing floating, no debris of any kind whatsoever, which would indicate a shoot down. And part of me at the beginning was like, well, it might have gotten shot down. And then unlike, here, they might have, instead of trying to make it like, hey, we saved the day, they might have want to just kind of brush it under the rug because of the civilian casualties. But you would find somebody, you couldn't control that debris field or gather everything up. Something would have washed up somewhere.
Yeah, you would think so. I mean, hopefully at some point we'll find out some more. But it was interesting that the CIA were here asking about these passports, because the official story is these Iranians on board the flight were dismissed as being terrorists or anything, and yet so why are they sending the CIA to investigate them?
Yeah, something's not adding up. I just don't get why. Who's the biggest losers is the family, the loved ones, who are never going to know what happened to their loved ones. They have to have some kind of closure, and unfortunately it doesn't look like they're ever going to get it.
Well, yeah, but like you say, it could end up cropping up again. I mean, it would be incredible if at this point somebody, we found out that they had landed and they were being kept as bargaining chips, maybe in some kind of deal. I mean, Obama's over in Iran at the moment trying to sort out a deal. Are these people being used as bargaining chips in some kind of international deal? Who knows? But it would be kind of nice if there was a kind of almost happy ending. But it's very hard to imagine that happening.
Yeah, I actually never heard that theory. That does make sense in a way too, especially now that we deal with terrorists in the United States here, at least openly.
I mean, what do you think is going to happen with this Iran deal? Do you think that's going to be signed off or what?
I want to say that Obama, in a sense, something's telling me like for some odd reason he actually wants to get this done, but due to like Israel's influence on politics here, I really don't think it is. But I mean, I would like to see them have a fair chance of not living in the Stone Age practically, and having nuclear power and having peace. But then you never know; they could turn it around and use it and cause war. So it's almost like a double-edged sword. And I just don't think that it's gonna get done. I really don't.
I think the motivation for Obama is like he got the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he's going to be embarrassed to leave office, having actually done nothing to deserve that Peace Prize. So maybe that's partly the motivation here, that he can get something done. You know?
Salvage his presidency at then. Yeah, that could be too. And there's a lot of indications too. I didn't believe this much at the beginning that he actually, in his heart, actually might have a little bit of radical Islamic philosophy installed in him from his possible connections out in Indonesia or wherever they say he was from, Kenya this month. But I mean, I'm telling you, it wouldn't shock me, I guess, now that you bring that up, that salvage his presidency and say, hey, I helped restore peace in the Middle East. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. I remember all the controversy over, his birth certificate and stuff. It does seem like he doesn't have much of a history when he was younger, or when he was supposed to be teaching at university. Do you ever see people come on TV and say, because he was supposed to be a teacher at a university,
yeah. What?
Do any of his pupils ever come forward and say, oh, yeah, Obama taught me, or anything like that?
No. And actually, Wayne Madsen, who I've had on the show several times, he did a pretty in-depth investigation on him just here in Chicago. And the people that did know him said that he reeked of a cop, like of CIA. They thought he was something, so no one trusted him. And as far as friends go, no one has come out and said, yeah, I know Obama. There's no businesses, restaurants that have pictures of him there, nothing like that.
That's got to be highly suspicious, surely. I mean, there must, if you'd been taught by the president of the United States at university, you'd tell people about it, wouldn't you?
I think so, Yeah, it's mind-blowing, actually. So think how little we know about one of the, the leader of the free world. We don't know nothing about this guy. We can't even say, I mean, in the birth certificate he shows us is fake. It's fake. I mean, what do we take from all this, that we don't know our president, where he's from, if he's even eligible for president here? I mean, it's almost unreal that no one knows anything about this guy's past. Where did they get him from?
Yeah, and it'd be interesting to see what happens next with what do you think is going to happen during the next presidential campaign?
I wish Jesse Ventura would run and win and save the country, but I have a feeling it's going to be a damn Clinton or Bush, or maybe a Rand Paul.
Yeah, it'll be.
I'm not sold on it.
It'll be a real shame if it's a Clinton or Bush, but what's your opinion on voting itself? I mean, because I must admit, coming from England, I've got a very negative view of actually voting itself. I find it very futile in England too. I just don't see the point. None of the candidates represent me at all.
Yeah,
and I think the actual system itself, the entire system, which is backed up by the state-owned media, it needs to be brought down. I can't see any. Even if a good candidate came along, I don't think they would be elevated to the top. So I don't think there's any way a decent person can become prime minister or president.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you can look at Ron Paul as a perfect example out here. Once I seen what Ron Paul went through, that kind of sealed my fate as far as what I think about voting. You look at, I mean, this guy, you could drive 20 miles, see to this day Ron Paul bumper stickers on cars. You'll never see an Obama one, Romney, anything like that when he was running. And Ron Paul got screwed openly. And I don't have any confidence, because either you're voting for the lesser of two evils, or you're voting for possibly the other candidate. How do you know when you hit that button that vote is going to who you want it to?
And the other thing is, I think everyone, if ever I say that I don't vote, people always criticize. Some people criticize and say, well, people died for the right to vote and stuff, and I don't think they did. I think people died for the right the ability to be able to vote for something and have an influence, but we don't have that. That's not what we have. We don't have the ability to vote and have an influence. We have the ability to vote, but it's an illusion. Yeah. So people didn't die for that.
No,
nobody would die for a
change.
completely useless vote.
Yeah, they died to create change in society, and you know, the voting is just what at the time people actually believed it could have an impact. So I guess that's what they're referring to. But no, people gave up their lives to try to, you know, improve society, not to vote for some candidate. You know, no one's gonna, you know, get in harm's way to place their vote for Obama. What it is in my opinion, is that people want change and they can't think of any other way to do it other than voting. So they criticize you if you don't vote. But if you do vote and then the candidate you voted for comes and does the opposite of what he said, Obama, then you're the asshole too. So you can't win.
Yeah, and some people say, well, you know, if maybe they won't, you know, the person you vote for won't get in power, but you can at least send a message to whoever's in power by voting for another party. You can sort of show what you think. But it's like, that's not what voting's for at all. You know, voting is supposed to be so the population can actually choose someone to run their country. But the other problem we have is most of the population have no clue. They're being influenced by a state-controlled media anyway. So that needs to change as well before you can actually have people using critical thinking and choosing the correct, you know, a decent person to run their country.
Well said. And on top of that, you have the special interest, the corporations usually backing both candidates. So if whoever wins, the special interests win regardless. So there's really nothing. I mean, I just think that the voting machines made it a lot harder. At least you could have a recount and have physical evidence on who you voted for. Now that doesn't happen. So to me, it's completely, I think in America, at least, it's completely rigged.
It is. And I mean, it isn't the American dream that, you know, anyone could grow up from any kind of background and could eventually become president, right?
Yeah. And
well, if that's the case, you know, you've got a population of what, I don't know, 300,000 plus, 300,000 million plus.
It's not happening, you know.
And yet, what you're talking about potentially having a third Bush, as president? That's not the American dream, is it? That's the third person from the same family.
Yeah,
that would be nuts.
I mean, unbelievable that we put up with this. It's almost like what we fought to get away from is living under these royal families, and that's exactly what it is now. Royal family.
It's insane that you've potentially got a third Bush or a second Clinton that could become president. That's not the American dream. So I just don't know. I don't know, why people are voting for these people.
And if Hillary fails, they have Chelsea Clinton who will make a political run. Watch. I mean,
I'm sure she'll be next. Yeah.
So it's the Bush dynasty against the Clinton, and a lot of people, and I agree, think that the Clintons kind of run Obama. So if you look at that, he's part of almost the Clinton dynasty. So it's a lot of the same players behind scenes. So yeah, it's unbelievable what this country is put up to, just because, like you said, with Fox News, they could come out and actually promote Jeb Bush, and they somehow don't get ridiculed for it. And people forget that he was in charge of Florida during the recount that gave George Bush the presidency in 2001. So this guy's not clean, by any sense of the word.
Yeah, they must have a thirst for power, because I watched a bit of Jeb Bush. He comes across as like relatively decent, but that doesn't mean he is. That just means he knows the right thing to say, because he's thinking, all the time he's being motivated by the thirst for power, basically.
Oh yeah, and what's scary? They have another Bush lined up after Jeb too. And he might not even be American citizen. He's adopted. He's half Mexican, I believe.
Yeah, you know, if another Bush or Clinton is voted into power, then you've got to start saying people deserve the world we live in. Then, if they're not going to do anything, if they're going to keep voting for these people, I think people have a very low expectation because, you know, of what the world should be like. You know, people think that our dreams of world peace and they're just, you know, dreams, but they don't have to be if we vote for the right people, you know. But people have got so used to voting for these people and for having, you know, this hierarchy that we have, the elite over us. You know, and I was just probably before I go, I was going to mention the royalty as well.
Okay.
I was going to mention here. I mean, I have to be a little bit careful what I say here in Thailand because it's a very serious.
Be careful,
serious
Scott.
matter if you diss the royal family here at all. People, you go to prison pretty quickly. And I had a few dilemmas here actually because if you go to the cinema here before the movie starts, they put on a propaganda film, and you're supposed to stand up and respect for the king.
Wow.
And a couple of weeks ago, I went to the cinema, and there wasn't many people in the cinema, and this thing came on, and I didn't want to stand up, but I could see that if I didn't, everyone would look at me because there wasn't many people in there, and it was
like
it's quite a serious offence to disrespect the king over here.
Yeah.
You end up in prison. So I have to admit, I reluctantly kind of stood up, but then yesterday I went to the cinema again, and it came on, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't stand up. I thought, I can't do this. You know, the propaganda film they show, it just makes you want to vomit. It really does. It's disgusting. But
that's old,
you know,
tactics too. We used to do that here actually, way before I was born. But yeah, the public actually almost caught on. But they did it during wartime. But yeah, that's you better watch out for not standing up, Scott.
There's a lot of people being jailed at the moment, but a lot of members of relatives of the princess of Thailand, they're all getting jailed for this law, which prohibits disrespecting the royal family. And also a couple of actors got jailed the other day for doing a play which even mentioned the royal family. It's getting a bit crazy. But I wanted to say about the British royal family as well, because Prince Charles, I think, is actually in the US now, or has just left, or and you know, I don't know what Americans think of the British royal family. I think they like the whole soap opera of it all, but it's not a joke really. You know, these people are taking millions and millions of pounds. They've got houses in every country in the world. You know, there's people in England who are homeless, and we've got this. We're just wasting all this money on this family. It's disgusting, really.
Yeah, and it's the same with their president. I mean, Obama has a separate plane from his wife, and they have the dogs on their own plane. Then they have the security planes. He goes on more vacations. We're paying for it. It's the same thing here.
Yeah, I wanted to. I'll probably have to go in a sec, but I wanted to read before I did. I wanted to read you some of the absolute royal propaganda we get in England. People get fed in England all the time, and this is why, you know, some people, you know, a lot of people still support the royal family because they get bombarded with all this rubbish. But I've got a newspaper article here, and this is the kind of nonsense we get. Articles about nothing constantly in the British press. So there's a picture of Kate Middleton's hair here, and it says "not a grey hair in sight." And here's a little bit of I'll do a little bit of reading if you don't mind.
No problem.
Yeah, so it says here, a little more than 2 weeks ago, the Duchess of Cambridge revealed a patch after pulling her hair back, and then it shows a picture. But there was no chance of the same thing happening again yesterday. While Kate had opted for a similar half-up, half-down style, her hair was arranged lower on her head to allow her to wear her new Jane Taylor millinery hat, removing the prospect of showing any hint of roots. The Duchess is thought to colour her glossy chestnut locks using an organic vegetable-based treatment. And it goes on and on and on. And we get this constant worship of the opulence that these people live in. And, you know, the British public seem blind to the fact they're paying for it all. I just can't. I can't understand why the British public put up with this nonsense. But anyway, another part of the article, he may be frustrated that he does not see as much of his grandson as he would like. But even in the absence of George, Prince Charles could not have been happier to see his daughter-in-law as the royal family arrived for a service at Westminster Abbey yesterday. And the smiling prince put an arm around the heavily pregnant Duchess of Cambridge, whose second child is due in just 6 weeks, giving her a warm welcome and an affectionate kiss on the cheek. Now, this is a full-page article, and the article is all about this kiss on the cheek. Can you believe that? I mean, the entire article is about a kiss on the cheek.
Unbelievable.
The fact he kissed. It's just nonsense.
I mean, it really is.
We get this all the time, you know.
What did you learn from reading that article, Scott?
Well, I learned the whole article. A couple of thousand words here. I learned that Prince Charles kissed Kate Middleton on the cheek.
Thank you. Yeah, you know, like wow. And someone gets
there's
paid
an entire
to
story there written on the single sentence about the single sentence that he kissed her on the cheek. This is supposed to be big news in the UK at the moment. It's just it's horrific, and we constantly get just just talking about the fashion, the clothes she's wearing, her £100,000 ring or hat that she wears, and I just do not understand why they still get support in the UK, particularly as Prince Charles is connected to at least 3 convicted paedophiles as well.
Yeah, that's on record.
There's Jeffrey Epstein, who Prince Andrew used to hang out with, and there's a girl who's come forward saying that she was his sex slave. There's Jimmy Savile, the worst paedophile in the UK, basically, who was also a necrophiliac, who was best friends with Prince Charles, and Bishop Peter Ball, a convicted paedophile, was released from prison, and Prince Charles gave him a house to live in.
Wow, that's not saying something.
Yeah, you've got to wonder, basically, that I just had to have a little bit of rant about the royal family, because I do not understand in this day and age why we still have a royal family. They have no power whatsoever in the UK, and whilst it might be entertaining for Americans sometimes, when the royal family go over there, they should understand that this is such a waste of money. It's just a big waste of money. People are starving, and people are homeless, and these people get millions and millions of pounds.
Yeah, it's appalling, and unfortunately, it's almost spreading here. With our president is becoming almost royalty, and that we're doing the exact same thing and treating Michelle Obama as if she's like a queen.
Oh, I heard that they're spending obscene amounts of money for going on holidays and, taking. I heard the other day they took 2 separate planes to fly to the same destination.
Yeah.
They used, and some of the costs, apparently there was a bill for $40,000 for a taxi, some taxis and stuff. It was just
unbelievable.
It's just a big waste of money,
Yeah, they're married, yet they can't fly in the same damn plane. I mean, there's something wrong with us when we accept that we have to pay for 2 planes. But most people don't put 2 and 2 together that we're actually paying for it.
There seems to be a fascination with the public, which is perpetuated in the media, to kind of really admire people who are living the high life and who are wearing expensive different clothes every day, and $100,000 or $200,000 rings or hats, and it seems to be celebrated. And that goes with celebrities as well. It seems to be celebrated rather than something that should be lambasted.
I agree, and it is celebrated, and that needs to change. But yeah, I appreciate you joining us, Scott. I know you've stayed up a long time to come on the show, and I appreciate it. And I'd love to have you on again whenever you can.
Yeah, and likewise yourself. Come and join us at Truth Sentinel. I've taken a break for a couple of months from doing Truth Sentinel just to clear my head a bit, because you probably know yourself, when you focus on these things all the time, it can actually get quite depressing,
Oh yeah. And then with everything with my mom too, I had to take about a month off myself with everything going on. It's people don't realize the stuff that we have to put ourselves through, because it's almost like just constant depressing, like news, one thing after another, and you got to take it all in and put on a strong face, come on and lead. But sometimes it's a lot harder than people would think.
It is indeed, and I think I'm gonna try and inject more humor into covering these things, which I think is the only way to do it. Because if you stay serious about these topics for too long, you'll lose your sense of humor, and I don't really want to do that.
Yeah, I always try to laugh some things off and do things like that just to kind of keep myself and just in a good mood, because like you said, you can just almost go crazy just after a while, like what is going on, what can I do to stop this? But you kind of have to inject humor, because then you let them win. Yeah,
indeed. And some people think people are making money out of this, but you know yourself, we're not. And it can, personal issues can actually start to intertwine. We've all got to earn a living somehow. And so I took some time out, but I'm starting to make episodes again, and I'll be back. And so anyone who gets the chance to tune into Truth Sentinel occasionally, come and find us on YouTube, and we'll have some new episodes coming up, and hopefully. Yeah, you can come and join us at some point, Pete, and Seth joins us sometimes. Thanks for putting us in contact with Seth, because he's as you know, he's a mind. He's full of interesting information. And,
one of the hardest
very
workers,
good research,
hardest workers I've ever met. I got to admit, no problem. Like I said, we have the Truth Alliance going, and it's kind of just all of us working together, trying to make ends meet, but trying to help change the world for the better. We're not in this for personal gain. If we were, we would have been out a long time ago.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, sometimes like you've probably been accused yourself of being CIA
last week,
funded by the CIA. I've been accused of that as well, but it's nonsense. I mean, I live hand to mouth, and I do travel, but I spend all my money on travel, basically travel, food, and accommodation.
Yeah, and I know how it is. Last week, Seth and I got accused of being CIA, so because the guest we've had on the show, I mean that's ridiculous.
People need to
paying good.
we have to be careful, because there is so much nonsense out there, also in the alternative media. I mean, some of the stuff you see, you've got to wonder if there's truth out there, and then there's lies as well in the mainstream and in the alternative media, and that's the key. We need to be able to
decipher.
Both.
Yeah, it's almost like a treasure hunt sometimes to get the information. With all they've infiltrated the groups and created alternative news outlets just to put out this information.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'll give you one example before I go. On one of the episodes, I interviewed Sarah Bajak, whose partner with Philip Wood was on MH370, and she's been accused of a lot as well. But I saw someone made a website saying, you get these crisis actors, which may well be the case, with Sandy Hook and things like that. But it's not. It doesn't mean that every single world event has got a crisis actor.
Yeah.
So someone showed a photo of a woman at the Boston bombing, and says it's Sarah Bajak. But if you look at the photo, you only need to use your eyes. You don't need to do anything else. Just use your eyes. Compare Sarah Bajak with that photo. It's not the same woman,
Yeah.
It's just
people have to try
It just amazes me that people don't even. They'll just glance at that. They won't even compare the two photos. And they're like, "Yeah, she's a crisis actor." Like, no, look at the photo. Use your eyes.
Because they're trying to make their own conspiracy out of already two conspiracies. So, yeah, that's when it becomes a problem. And you got to use common sense.
You have to use common sense, critical thinking, logical thinking, because there may be people out there spreading these lies deliberately. there may be some other people who are just plain stupid. I hate to say it, but they're just plain stupid, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, we have to be careful not to be taken in by every single thing, you know.
That's good advice, Scott. That really is. But yeah, I'll let you get going so I could have Seth come on. I'm going to take a quick break. But everyone listening to this, support the True Sentinel with Scott on YouTube, and you know, I'm going to join the show whenever I can. Whenever you want me on, just let me know, and open invitation for whenever you'd like to join my show as well.
Yeah, no, Pete, great. It's been great talking to you today, and I'm really glad we hooked up. That probably was a year ago now. And, it's like great to be part of the Truth Alliance with Corey Washington there as well, and Seth and you and any others.
Dan Badondi and
Dan Badondi. Yeah, I haven't actually spoken to Dan yet. I want to do that at some point as well. But yeah, you know, we can make a difference, you know, if we all get together, and we're not always going to be right about everything. But, you know, I think we'll be probably more right than some of the other stuff you see on the mainstream news as well.
Oh, without a doubt. And that's not trying to pat ourselves on the back. It's just we do the work and research into it. We don't just believe everything we hear.
Yeah, and that's the final thing I wanted to say is check out. I would encourage everyone to look into logical thinking, you know, and logical fallacies. I've been researching it a bit lately, and so has Seth as well. And it's a really interesting tool to have to start spotting all the logical fallacies you see on the media. It's worth spending a bit of time looking into those. Anyway, but thanks again for having me. I'm gonna probably listen in on the rest of the show and then probably fall asleep. But that won't be because the show's boring or anything. It'll just be because it's now 8 o'clock in the morning over here, and I really should sleep at some point.
Well, it was an honor having you on, and I look forward to hooking up with you again. And thanks for joining us. And I appreciate your support and just having you as a friend, brother.
Yeah, you too. You too. Anyone listening, keep listening to Pete. Keep watching his shows and listening to what's going on, and you'll be in safe hands. So thanks again. Catch you later then, Pete, and everyone listening.
God bless. Thanks, Scott.
Okay, bye.
Have a good one. See ya. Well, that was great catching up with Scott, and I got to check out the True Sentinel. Like I said, we did a show together, like he said, about a year ago. Man, wow, time flies. But we actually did over an hour, so he did good for going with no sleep, and I'm losing my voice, so we manned it out. But we're gonna go to a quick break, and when I get back, Seth and I are just gonna kind of fly through some news quick and wrap up the show. Thank you for your support, and stay tuned. That you're listening to Truth is Stranger Than Fiction with Pete Wichert on March 21st of 2015.
Celebrating 30 years of phenomenal trend forecasting, 5 times a week, Monday through Friday. Here's Gerald Salenti with today's trends in the news.
Hi, this is Gerald Salenti. Monday, March 16th, 2015. And here are some of today's trends in the news. Remember what happened on Friday? Whew, markets were way down and it came back up a bit. Today, here in the States, the Dow closed over 225. Gold, cheap, not much of anything, but oil, whew, oil was down over 3%. That's right, closed down over 2%. West Texas, back to 2009 levels. So why did the market go up? U.S. stocks traded more than 1% higher on Monday as investors, gamblers, eyed weakness in the dollar and oil prices ahead of Wednesday's key Fed meeting. That makes absolutely no sense at all. Oh, yeah, the dollar got a little weaker. Yeah. Well, that's good because maybe the Fed won't raise interest rates. So the Ponzi scheme keeps going. No reason for any of this. But that's what's going on. And as for them oil prices stabilizing will continue to firm up. Saudi advisor, Oil prices have started to stabilize around $60 a barrel in past weeks and will continue to firm up, while crude demand will grow stronger. An advisor to Saudi Arabia's oil minister said on Sunday. So what? He was one day off. Because when you look at the facts of what's going on, over the weekend, U.S. producers ready new oil wave. The International Energy Agency reinforced the prospects of a prolonged slump in energy prices, saying U.S. oil output was surprisingly strong in February and rapidly filling all available storage tanks. Independent oil shale producers have slashed their planned 2015 spending on drilling by $50 billion, but, and here's the but, have promised to increase production by focusing on their best oil fields. So they got to keep pumping out this stuff no matter what. Yes, they're closing down rigs, but they still have to bring money in. So when you look at the numbers, total U.S. oil production hit a high of 9.4 million barrels a day the week ending March 6th. So there you have it. I think the Saudi advisor may be in for a little mistake over there. The number of oil rigs drilling in the U.S. declined by 56 this week to 866, a 46% drop since early October when oil was traded for about $90 a barrel. So that's why the market's going up. And the other good news why the market's going up, home builder confidence falls in March again. Despite the start of the busiest housing season and warming weather in much of the nation, U.S. home builders are steadily losing faith in their business. Single-family home construction has been running at an anemic pace, with starts down nearly 7% in January, month to month, according to the U.S. Census Bureau. Builder sentiment for current sales fell 3 points to 58. Buyer traffic fell 2 points to 37. And to reinforce it, today's Wall Street Journal. Ire rises at China over glut of steel. China's massive steel-making engine, determined to keep humming as growth cools at home, is flooding the world with exports, spurring steel producers around the globe to seek government protection from falling prices. All right, oil, iron, it doesn't make a difference. They keep pumping it out because they need the money. But the hypocrisy here is that government producers are seeking government protection from falling prices. From the European Union, Korea, India, China's excess metal supply is upending trade patterns and heating up turf battles among local steelmakers. China produces as much steel as the rest of the world combined, more than 4 times the peak U.S. production in the 1970s. So, how about China bringing in all their cheap clothing? And this is Italian. Actually, it's Argentinian. How about all of the cheap product they bring in? So you can see what the story is. They're going to keep flooding the market, and it's our top trend for 2015, price wars. There's too much product and not enough demand. Booming London masks weakness elsewhere in UK. Story about how the housing market in the UK around London is booming. The economy around there is booming, but not so good around much of the rest of the country. The same thing in the USSA. Around the big metropolitan areas, everything is fine. You go out into the outskirts, ain't looking so good. So the wealth at the top is fueling what looks to be like growth, but it's all concentrated. whether it's in London or whether it's in LA, whether it's in New York, you name it, it's the same thing around the world. And tiny little Iceland, no longer eager to join the EU. What's the matter with them? They should follow the path of the Ukraine, set by Victoria Nuland. Yeah, they're smart enough up there in Iceland. You know, you got to give them credit. They got through the banking crisis by prosecuting the people that did it. They refused to pay back the dough, and they're doing fine. And remember we said, hey, watch out what's going to happen over the weekend in Brazil. Over 1 million people hit the streets. Yep. Brazil's government will present a package of anti-corruption measures after more than 1 million people, some of them calling for President Rousseff's impeachment, took to the streets on Sunday. Higher taxes and increased prices for government-regulated items like gasoline are rankling Brazilians as the biggest corruption scandal in the nation's history ensnares elected and appointed official. You know the word. Yep. It's the same thing. Things get bad, hit the people with more taxes and make the prices of everything they buy go up. And tomorrow's the election over there in Israel. Netanyahu, if I'm elected, there will be no Palestinian state. That's right. Now, that's not what he said in his speech in 2009, in which he had voiced support for a two-state solution. I'm in favor of a one-state solution. Well, why not? It's my money going over there. I could say something. Yeah. You say you're the most democratic state in the Middle East. Take down those walls, Mr. Netanyahu. Cut out the apartheid. Bring everybody together. How about that? No two-state solution. All it has been is a two-bit fraud, and they kept selling this peace process for how many years? So there you go. Big election coming up tomorrow. Who will win? U.S. drone kills 6 in Pakistan-Afghanistan border area. Well, 6 people, including 2 key militant commanders. Don't you love the propaganda? Key militant commanders. Oh, yeah, we know it. Suspected key militant commanders. And those other 6 people, yeah, they're only Pakistan, Afghan, who cares? They're not white. So they don't count. And more foreign policy of the United States and its allies. ISIS militants claim attack on security building in Libya's capital. Yep. Militants loyal to the Islamic State claim to attack a security headquarters in the Libyan capital of Tripoli on Sunday. How's that, Obama? Huh? Yeah, we're going to get rid of that Gaddafi, I tell you. Let's destroy the richest country in Africa and turn it into chaos like everything else that the United States does. Excuse me. I forgot the victory in Iraq and the one in Afghanistan. How could I forget? And remember what was going on over the weekend, the last couple of days. Where's Putin? Where's Putin? This is the level of propaganda. Israel's former ambassador to Russia. There are signs of a coup. Israel's former ambassador to Russia, Ziv Magen told Haaretz, he believes, quote, there are many signs of a coup. The movement of the army around the Kremlin indicates that there is a change in government and that an attempt at a change in government is being carried out. This guy is an expert. And they keep putting one of these flunkies out there after another for almost a week. Where's Putin? Every day. We're the only people that got it right, man. Here's the proof. I said it Friday. He was with misdeeds. And Ukraine's getting back in the news over there. U.S. tanks, troops arrive in Estonia for joint military drills. Yeah, look at this. U.S. tanks and equipment arrived in Estonia early Saturday to take part in international military exercise, the country's permanent representative to NATO said. And that's only part of it. The U.S. Army says it will be sending armored Stryker vehicles on a 1,100-mile convoy through 6 European countries to show solidarity to its allies. This is reported in Stars and Stripes. Quote, a highly visible demonstration of U.S. commitment to its NATO allies and demonstrating NATO's ability to move military force freely across allied borders in close cooperation, said U.S. Army spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Craig Childs, speaking like a little child. Yeah, because what Putin said when he just got free from misdeeds was that nuclear weapons were ready during Ukraine crisis. In recorded comments made for a documentary on the accession of Crimea into Russian Federation, President Vladimir Putin revealed that he had been readying nuclear arms during the height of the Ukraine crisis. He went on to say that the annexation of Crimea was never considered before the crisis began, but that given a large ethnic majority and its relationship, the Crimean Peninsula had been part of Russia beginning in 1802, he felt it was their right to take the action that they did. So, you're going to stop the Russians, right? This stupid little, how much is this thing costing to go across Europe? All this money being wasted. Look at these photos. Look at the stupidity of it all. Who are they kidding? A lot of people, particularly the congressmen and senators. And speaking of kidding, Kerry's back. He's making a news. He's making a news. Here it is. Syria conflict. U.S. wants to reignite peace talks, says Kerry. Yeah. He said one of the worst tragedies any of us has ever seen, and everybody agrees there is no military solution, only a political solution. Gee, that's not what he was saying before. Hey, remember when they all said Assad had to go? Don't believe me? Here they are.
We would have preferred Assad go 2 years ago, last year, 6 months ago, 2 months ago. Assad needs to go. He is no longer legitimate, and that he needs to go.
Assad has to go.
Yeah, this is the man that was going to bring peace to the Middle East. You remember him, huh? One lie after another. Here we go. March 5th, not too long ago. Military pressure particularly may be necessary given President Assad's unwillingness to negotiate seriously, Kerry said. Seriously? Because you just said everybody agrees there is no military solution. There's only a political one. That was yesterday. They're sick. They're out of their mind. Gets worse. Policy remains same and is clear. There is no future for Assad in Syria. Barked State Department spokeswoman Marie Harf. Add them up. Add them up. Libya, Ukraine, Russia, Syria. One losing U.S. military diplomatic strategy after another. And they still get away with it. This is Gerald Salenti, and that's some of today's Trends in the News.
All right, this is Pete Wichert, and you're listening to Truth is Stranger Than Fiction, and that was Gerald Salenti breaking down a lot of what we just covered, actually, with Scott from the True Sentinel. And we're going to have Seth Davis from Two Real News joining, and also Two Real News, the actual radio show that will be debuting this upcoming week. So check that out. And pretty much, I guess we're going to run through. We got about only 15 minutes left. Seth Davis from TwoRealNews.com and upcoming debut of his show, Two Real News on Shake and Bake Radio. Seth, Shake and Wake. Shake and Bake. That was a slip of the tongue. Excuse me.
It's more like wake and bake.
I just like I'm trying to focus on my voice, maintaining the last 20 minutes here. My bad, Seth.
It's all good.
And I was looking at a question, but yeah. So basically,
Let's start up with questions there.
I was going to say we'll run through these fan questions first, and we got about 10 minutes after that only to cover news. I'm sorry about that, Seth.
Let's get to it.
First one's from Josh from Chicago, and I think I'll just let you have this one, buddy. What is the difference between Al Qaeda and ISIS?
Okay. Starting out, you remember how I did the big thing of Khorasan and all that? Well, I would say it's here. We're going to get it down to a list. I've got it mapped out here. Originally, there's the Mujahideen. We know that group is, you can look it up, of Operation Cyclone and everything that they have in the Middle East in the 70s and 80s there, specifically Afghanistan region and Pakistan area to overthrow the local communists that Russia is sponsoring with our own United States brand of good old-fashioned extremist Wahhabism. Literally, arguably the craziest crap you could imagine. The worst ally you could possibly create is who they created, which is great. I mean, in most cases, many people would believe that they still have control over these guys. But then you go down to Al Qaeda. Al Qaeda is the even more compromised as far as ties to the United States intelligence agencies and Western European specifically intelligence agencies like CIA and everything like that. And then you go down to the subset there of groups such as Jama'at al-Tawhid wal-Jahid, which itself later becomes Al-Qaeda in Iraq, which also has part of the Ansar al-Islam group in AQI. And AQI came into Iraq in about 2006, which is that group there, it destroys the justification that the United States had originally, or that George Bush presented of the Al-Qaeda connection with Saddam Hussein in Iraq, and actually was not really a thing. So you got that, and then those two groups eventually, Al-Qaeda in Iraq becomes merges at one point, and a little bit more with Jabhat al-Nusra from Syria there to become ISIS, or the Islamic State of Iraq and Syria / ISIL, the Islamic State of Iraq and Levant, the Islamic State just by itself there, which is a nice ambiguous term that you can just go on fighting forever. Yeah. But in that group allegedly was supposedly become the Khorasan group. But the problem is that all these different groups are rife with Turkish intelligence agencies, are rife with Saudi Arabian intelligence agencies, are rife with British and French and Italian intelligence agencies, and of course good old-fashioned American and Israeli intelligence agencies. I mean, in the case of supposedly the head of ISIS there, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi is a Mossad agent.
Oh, yeah. And I would just say maybe that ISIS is a little more, they're painting outside the lines of what the globalists want.
Not really, though, Pete. I mean, if it's in terms of what they want there of causing chaos and everything, at the end of the day, what they really want is to create instability, and that works out perfectly. And also, when you look at it, this has nothing to do with radical Islam, because in this case, with ISIS and all these guys, most of these guys aren't even actually religiously Muslim on anything. Most of them aren't actually really even Sunni Muslims. Most of them are literally mercenaries.
Yeah, it's well said, actually.
So it actually makes it a little bit different there, and that's on the news. That's open. That's why they do all this stuff.
Yeah.
That's why they're killing people and everything like that.
And a lot of people
because actually all this stuff that they'd be doing there would have them like sent to hell in Muslim tradition, regardless of even if you're going by the most hardcore of Wahhabism. Yeah. They still wouldn't be able to do most of the stuff they're doing.
Yeah, I agree. And
of course, why would they just have all this Western stuff if not, at very least, they're being funded by Saudi Arabia, as certain media outlets will trump it. And I agree with. I believe to a certain degree they are being funded by Saudi Arabia, but we need to look at the other interests in the Middle East that are funding them. I mean, granted, it's all like a proxy war against Iran and Russia and Eastern interests with China. Or sorry, Western Chinese interests.
Oh, well said, man. Well said. Anything else you'd like to elaborate on that, or?
No, I'm pretty say that works pretty well. I mean, we could go on for hours about
Yeah, I was
that.
gonna
My
say,
God, we need to make a.
You got
make a
some
whole broadcast
players
about
that are similar to, and I'm sure the hierarchy, and
yeah, definitely. Well, it goes, Pete. There's more groups that I could talk about here than I could go on to. You've got everything from the Saudi Arabian quote unquote Green Battalion to Harakat Sham al-Islam, which is Moroccan. You've got Jaish al-Mujahideen Wal Ansar, which is Chechen, Syria, and you've got Harakat Fajr Sham al-Islamiyya, which is Syrian. And all these groups make the Ansar al-Din Front, which is like an affiliate of ISIS or an affiliate of al-Nusra.
well, Josh, I think that's probably the best answer you're going to be able to get from any outlet.
They're a big sticky mess.
Yeah, pretty much. Let's see. The next guy, he wanted to know who we played for break. That was Diesel Automatic, DISL Automatic, like car drive.
You can hear the music a whole lot better if you look it up on YouTube. A little bit is lost in translation.
Yep. And then he wants to know how much of the economy, and I didn't put this person's name, how much of the economy does the government control? And we were kind of discussing this before, and I mean, it's above 75%.
Yeah. And unfortunately, in reality, they wouldn't control any of it but a small amount in terms of trying to regulate the economy, because they don't produce anything. And unfortunately, now government has taken over so much in American society that it has become essentially a fascist or a corporatist nation.
Yeah. And I'd like to add, too, is that that little percent that they don't control, it might start falling soon, too. So it could grow.
Most definitely. It could grow even further. And at the same time, that side could push back. And I think we're going to see that there as groups like McDonald's and all this stuff fall.
Yeah.
The tide is turning, and that's why they've turned up the propaganda so heavy.
Yeah. And that's like Seth said, due in part to the people being vigilant about what they're eating. And if you applied that to politics, we could really do some damage.
Definitely.
So that's, I thought
I'm encouraged. I'm starting to see traffic all the way here to 2 Real News, man.
Awesome. Everybody, you got to support the real people out here.
Well, it's a constant, when you go on, it's a constant immediate news feed. And in your case there, Pete, anything you got, man, people need to start backing up. People need to start helping you take video of this stuff, start sending you news clips of local news stories and everything like that. I occasionally will try to cover what's going on there locally for you in Chicago, man, because I know I'm not from there, but at least I know most of your listening audience happens to be, not all of them, but a pretty large amount.
Mm-hmm. Especially over
the terrestrial radio, yeah, it's all Chicago. But, yeah.
But move on to the next one. This was by TJ, and he wants to know, do you guys think that the elite are backing off of the global warming, the whole global warming scam, or do you think that they're going to have another offensive, basically?
Doubling down under a different name if they can rebrand it as climate change or human-caused climate change or environmental disaster. They'll use any of a number of names to try and run with it. That to just rebrand it and continue rebranding it is pushing it forward as much as possible, but they are falling with it. The more people see that their predictions actually fall short. But it's like anything, there's a certain amount of people that have been brainwashed to a degree that they can go through with anything they really want, and certain people will go along with them.
Yeah, I mean, if you just do the research, there's plenty of well-respected scientists that could pretty much debunk their whole theory, and their own theory debunks itself from its original state and has fallen apart. It fell apart in 3 years, so they're going to double down, like they already are, and they will continue to.
Well said. Let's keep it going.
All right. So the fourth question, actually, I was really happy to get this email. It's from Joey from Bensonville. And he said he used to live in Bensonville, which is now where O'Hare Airport actually stands now. And I guess I'll just kind of paraphrase this. He went to go drive by his old house when they still had the buildings up before they tore them down. And he came across special ops training there and actually overheard them, you know, screaming, obviously pretending people were in the house and whatnot, talking about confiscating guns. And this was, you know, almost 10 years ago. And that's pretty shocking to me that they'd be that open about it and do it. But I've also seen another video on YouTube saying the same thing, and I've heard stories from other people in Bensonville about this. This was apparently like going on for at least a couple months, once a week, if not multiple times a week. And he wants to know, what do you think the goal is? Why would they? And I think it goes back to rounding up for dissidents, political distance, gun confiscation, things like that nature.
I think it's them training for that, not necessarily specifically in that particular neighborhood, but so much as that they could use it immediately on one level. And you know what I mean? Because they're just taking this over as part of a globalist operation anyways, of the greater O'Hare expanse of just globalism. I mean, you literally go to that place and that's,
communist flag and all. Yep. Which we, if you didn't check out last week's show or last show, I would check that out.
Yeah, well, Pete, when you look at that picture, is that white or yellow?
That's yellow.
Yeah, and then that's exactly.
That's yellow. I know from my own eyes seeing it.
That's weird. It's red and yellow.
It is weird. It just, you're going to have to listen to last week's, or what was that?
Yeah, which means it's not the modern flag of the Turkish flag. No. It's that specific, like, communist Turkish flag. Weird.
Yeah.
Weird.
So Joey, I mean, there's some stuff that we can't explain going on there. That's why we need people like yourself to help us.
Heck yeah, man. Anything we can get.
And I appreciate the tip. And I guess we'll just ignore the last one, who is Pete Santillia. Because
nobody you really need to care about.
Yeah.
Nobody that's going to provide you with any relevant information that has anything helpful to add. Nobody. I got nothing more to say on it than that.
It's a piece of shit. That's
Pete, I wouldn't even go that far, because a piece of shit you might even like look at and be like, ew, and then avoid. But I wouldn't even just you don't even have to.
Okay. Yeah, I'll take the high ground on this one.
Yeah, just out of sight, out of mind. Who cares?
So basically for the last like 10 minutes, yeah, not even, we got to about 45.
Okay, well, Pete, now I'll just tell people, anybody that goes to tworealnews.com, that's number 2, lowercase REALNEWS.com. You can see a constant news feed. You have a breaking news ticker at the top there that I've got going slow enough that most people can read it, but if you hover your mouse over it, it'll stop for you, so you can actually read it there if it's still going too fast for you. We got 50 different news sources here, and probably going to go closer up to 60 by the time all is said and done, that we actually repost some of these articles from other places and everything like that so that people can see it for themselves. And you know what I mean? Because I encourage people to have a very wide, broad amount of news, and I bring it all together in one place that's currently constantly updating.
Yeah. And what about I just caught this story, Obama missing nuke, now part of election debate. With Rick Santorum question on Obama nuke transfer to South Carolina. That's actually kind of.
I remember that. That was a while ago.
Yeah. That's a big story, because you had, what's his name from South Carolina, talking about if we don't go to war in Syria, we're going to get blown up, like Charleston. There could be a nuke going off. Then InfoWars blew the lid off of basically this whole like transfer, which was not following any kind of protocol, was dangerous in itself. And there's some good people that said this ain't happening and helped possible false flag.
Definitely.
Man.
And I'd say it's something I hadn't heard about that at all, but I'd say it's definitely something. I mean, I'd heard about it at the time and everything, just not of the new revelations on that.
It's on tworealnews.com.
Man, well, dude, I've got it. This updates so quickly. If you've had it up the whole time, I guarantee you re-upload it, the page or whatever, there's another like 60 to 100 stories.
Yeah, no, it's already off the recent post. So,
yep.
Yeah, no, and I mean, we got exactly 5 minutes. Is there anything that caught your eye?
Going quick here, some interesting ones out of RussiaToday.com. We've got Nature's Revenge, Dead Sea surrounded by 3,000 plus sinkholes growing at alarming rate. It's Nature's Revenge. Gidon Bromberg, the Israeli director of EcoPeace Middle East, told ABC. EcoPeace unites environmental activists. Quote, these sinkholes are a direct result of the inappropriate mismanagement of the water resources in the region, said Bromberg. Ooh, let's see. U.S. seizes $180 million in cocaine from Colombian drug traffickers in Pacific. I'm sure that is out of the Guardian. I'm sure they've moved a lot more than that. U.S.-bound vessel caught off Central America with 14 crew members are detained by U.S. authorities. Confiscated $180 million shipment of cocaine from Colombian drug traffickers. Yeah, I'm sure there's probably more like, $190 million worth. But, some of it doesn't bear.
In my pocket, and that doesn't count anymore.
Oh, beyond the pocket, dude. We're talking, there are some points just truckloads of this stuff that just disappears that we just don't talk about. There are helicopter loads, small plane loads. Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Let's see. We got Xinhua Net. This is Chinese world news in English. 9 killed in bus accident in Egypt's Giza. Let's see. U.S. judge, this is out of Associated Press. U.S. judge orders U.S. release military detainee abuse photos. This is out of AP. The U.S. must release photographs showing abused detainees in Iraq and Afghanistan. A federal judge has ruled in a long-running clash over letting the world see potentially disturbing images of how the U.S. treated military prisoners.
Wow. Well, that's a good sign in a sense. Let's get this into the light, man, and stop operating darkness and get your crimes against humanity into the public spotlight.
Ooh, this is out of AP too. Obama, this was just now breaking. Obama takes Netanyahu at his word, quote unquote, on Palestinian state. Yeah, I bet he did. Pete, you called it. You're talking there with Scott. You called it. You might act like he doesn't have that support there for good old Netanyahu and everything, but it's the same deal, different day.
Yeah, actually, we called it on Thursday too.
Yep. Well said.
That's not shocking. I mean, the guy, it's almost you could predict him like a book you've read a million times. What's going to be on the next page.
It's like what's the slimiest way he could possibly make out of this? Because while I'm like, I get what Scott's saying of the Nobel Peace Prize thing, but at the same time, because of their propagandists, they don't even care that much, man. They think that they can just do whatever and they can just lie about it enough and discredit all dissent, all forms of dissent, eventually through the internet there and everything like that, of controlling that and deleting anything that is, quote, false information, which is simply information that contradicts with their official line, which in most cases is anything that makes them look bad is thus false information.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, yeah, Seth, man, I hate that we had to do this so quick, and I had to go cut you short.
No, it's all good. It was good to help people get the word out about this and everything, man. Check out 2 Real News if you want to keep up of what we'd be talking about otherwise. You know what I mean? If we could still be broadcasting, you don't necessarily have to agree with everything that's on there. I'd take it everything you see here with a grain of salt. But if you want to also check out original articles, check out the 2 Real News section of the news sources when you scroll down the page, and you'll get to see articles out of everywhere.
Sounds great.
Somewhere about 700 a day.
Yeah, I know. It's actually overwhelming sometimes, but that's because we have to try to
we have it broken
pick
down
and
into
choose,
individual sections for people that want to see out of whatever, and then it becomes a lot easier as far as the news feed. I wanted it to be kind of a monster at first.
Well, no, that's awesome because you could see everything from a different angle too. I mean, all the different, like you just
even like literally back-to-back posts that will have the same subject matter but different takes on it from different media outlets, and I think that's the way to do it.
Yeah, no, it definitely is because you can't. Every single outlet has their own agenda and they'll put their own spin on it. And if you kind of figure out the spin they're going to want to put on it, you could decipher the truth out of that article.
Yep, exactly. You start picking up common themes, and that's what Salente and those guys call trends forecasting. And actually, you can do the same thing in the economy. You can do the same thing with everything. It's not actually, people act like it's some form of like modern soothsaying or something. But then again, all you have to do is have some common sense and look at stuff and how things have been going and just kind of use it as a general judge of how things will continue to go. Not always, you know what I mean? Things can change pretty abruptly and everything. But at the same time, it's Occam's razor, man.
Yeah, no, it's like Alex Jones says, we have their playbook and we know what they do. So it's a lot easier once you understand what, like using football as an analogy, what plays this team likes to run. You could predict the next game what they're going to run based off what they've done in the past.
Well said, and God bless, Pete. Definitely, everybody check out Truth is Stranger Than Fiction next Thursday for an interesting show there. Check out this coming Wednesday, right before you're going to have Truth, Stranger Than Fiction on shakeandwakeradio.com. You can check out Two Real News, the first broadcast there. And then we're also going to be broadcasting Sundays on shakeandwakeradio.com at, 11 a.m. on Wednesdays, 11 a.m. Pacific. In your time, it would be 1 p.m. Central and 2 p.m. Eastern. And then similarly, Sunday would be 12 p.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Central, 3 p.m. Eastern.
Yeah, support Seth Davis and support this show. And again, you could email me at petewickert@att.net with any comments, questions, concerns. You want to help promote the show, donate, whatever it may be.
Yeah, anything. Well, we're all supporting each other, man. That's why I check out the stuff with Truth Sentinel and everything.
Yeah.
Corey Washington's Average Liberator. Check out Dan Badondi's Truth Radio Show. Is Truth Alliance, man. And we all support anybody, even people that we can't just say right now in the time that we've got left there. But man, just thank you to everybody that's been a part of this, and we're going to continue to support you because you supported us, and we got this.
Oh yeah, well said, brother. Well, thank you, Seth, and I'll give you a call in a little bit, brother. I appreciate you coming on for this short time, and I'll have you on more on Thursday. But we'll go over a lot of news, and we'll be talking. I'll be on your show, so
definitely.
But yeah, buddy, good job, and thank you again, man.
All right, good evening.
God bless. All right, I'd like to thank Scott, and I'd like to thank Seth, and I encourage everybody to check out their outlets, but don't forget to support the Truth is Stranger Than Fiction Facebook page, my YouTube, my Twitter, Pinterest. I'm on almost every outlet you could imagine. I'd like to thank Slam Internet Radio, and be sure to check out any of the other shows. Check them out, see if you like them, and appreciate the support. And we're going to keep, like Seth said, fighting until we can't fight anymore, until they throw us in these FEMA camps that Hillary Clinton is now on record talking about. This has been Pete Wickert, and thanks for tuning in to The Truth is Stranger Than Fiction on March 21st, 2015. God bless.